Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Vandy. I back in another card fight Vanguard deck profile. So you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't to Patreon. Let's get one started, shall we? Today we have Nectar, Cecilia Musketeers. So first off, yes, this is Cecilia reverse. Don't get distracted by the title. I said Musketeers for a reason because I'm pretty sure you can run Cecilia without Musketeers, but like, you know, it's a Musketeer itself. It would be treason in my eyes not to do it. And anyone who isn't doing it is committing treason in my eyes. I'm joking. I don't really care what you guys do, but I prefer to run Musketeers this way. So let's go ahead and get this deck started, shall we? First up, we have our starter today in Broccolini Musketeer Kirah, 6k base, grade 0, boost, 10k shield, auto when rolled upon, draw a card, then if your opponent's Vanguard's greater or greater, you get a quick show ticket to your hand. Standard starter, nothing too special about it. Here's why it's here. It is a Musketeer, and that is it. I was about to say something else, but then that would kind of seem a lot weird considering what I... depending on how I said it, it would seem pretty weird. But Kirah is, you know, it's a fine starter. It was also the first Nectar starter for V, I believe, so it's the starter that we're going to run with. Trigger-wise, we run 4 draw PGs in Maiden of Blossom Rain. Grade 0, boost, 0 shield, 5k base. Draw trigger, contains talent after 4 sentinels in your hand and auto guard circle in place. Discard a card from your hand and one of your units cannot be hinted onto battle. If you're wondering why you run Maiden of Blossom Rain here instead of running 12 crits, here's why. And this might just be my experience, so if you want to run 12 crits, you can. But literally every time I play this deck, I will drive check a crit at least every other turn. Like, when I'm saying every other turn, I mean, if I'm going second, so I get first attack, I guaranteed either my grade 1 turn or my grade 2 turn, I will sack a crit, because that is literally how it's been going since I've built Musketeers in V. Not even just this build, but Musketeers in V in general. Followed by, when I'm at grade 3, every drive check, I will hit either a draw, a heal, or a crit. Literally, my luck with Musketeers is bullshit, and I consider it, like, bullshit luck, because normally I don't sack a trigger guaranteed. At this point, it is kind of guaranteed, especially with this deck where, for some reason, even though I run 8 crits, I see them all extremely quickly, but specifically in my drive checks. So, yeah, and then Maiden of Blossom Rain is here because, you know, you want the defenses, you want to add cards to your hand, especially because for your abilities to go off, you still need to sack rear guard, so you want that draw just in case you need it, and you don't need to run 12 crits. If you really want to, because maybe your luck's bad, or you just want to punish your opponent, or you have the same luck as me and you want to send them further to hell, go ahead and do it, but I prefer the 8 crit 4 draw PG lineup. Speaking of which, we have our 8 crit and 4 copies of Night Queen Musketeer Daniel. You knew that if there was going to be a Musketeer crit, I would run it. And 4 copies of Chestnut Bullet, also a critical trigger. Once more, I prefer the 8 crit. If you want to go 12 crit, you can. There's nothing wrong with it, but I do prefer 8. And then our heal trigger is Watering Elf. Okay, before everyone starts yelling at me for not running the Heal Guardian, once more, I have said my reasoning for why I don't like Heal Guardians. I'm not going to run a card that I don't like, and I don't want anyone else to run cards that they don't like. If you want to run a card you don't like, go ahead, but that's your problem, not mine. So, if you want an actual explanation of why I hate Heal Guardians, go like 4 videos from... Sorry, no, not 4 videos. Go to a video 4 weeks ago on deck profiles. Like, go watch Locks and you'll probably... I think Locks is where I explained it most. But go watch a video from like 4 weeks ago and you'll probably get an actual answer. But otherwise, I'm not going to go into more detail about why I hate Heal Guardians here, because I'm not going to spend 3 minutes talking about it. So 4 copies of Watering Elf as our heal. And then on to grade 1s. If you have seen the Musketeer Vera deck, skip the grade 1 entirely because they are all the same in the exact same copies. But if you haven't seen it or you just want to hear my voice talk through them in a different explanation, let's go ahead and do it. First up, we have Anthurium Musketeer, Gastone. Grade 1, boost, 10k shield, 8k base. Continues rear guard. During the turn is placed from deck, it gets plus 10. Okay, I ran this in all of my Musketeer decks at 3 at least. Literally, every Musketeer deck I have ever built, this has been at 3. But it rarely goes off, because I rarely get to look at that many cards and call it. Like with old Cecilia, for some reason this thing would never show up. With Toure and the other one that's Toure's Legion mate, never showed up. With Vera, this thing literally never showed up, except for one time, and I couldn't even call it, because, or to be more exact, I could call it, but it's either that or call a trigger and use Saul's skill with it, so... yeah, I'm not going to go Gastone, but this time, finally, not only do I see it, but I can actively call it, not have a regretful decision about that, because maybe I should have called a trigger for Saul's purposes, but then also that plus 10 comes in useful for multi-attack, and with Cecilia, who can essentially get you a board restand, I mean, not a board restand, but, you know, to get a Vanguard restand, you can just stack triggers on a 28k beat stick, or an 18k beat stick without triggers. Gastone's pretty good, and it's a free 10k, so 4 copies. Now, if only there was a way, well, there is technically a way to send it back to deck, but not in this deck. Next up, we have 4 copies of Dandelion Musketeer Mirkka. Grade 1, boost, 10k shield, 8k base. Auto Vanner rear, when placed, Soul Blast 1 and call a plant token to a rearguard circle in the same combat as this unit. Plant tokens are grade 0 with 5k power and 1 critical and have boost. Yes, you, the bane of my existence. I say bane because whenever I build the Nectar decks in tabletop, I always forget to put plant tokens, and then during the recordings, I keep forgetting that I don't have plant tokens, so when I'm like, draw, ride Mirkka, Soul Blast 1, and then realize, shit, I forgot the plant tokens, didn't I? And then I have to cut the video, go grab plant tokens, spend like 2 minutes copying them because for some reason it takes forever to do this, and then afterwards restart the video so that I don't look like an idiot. Yes, I cannot tell you how every time that there's been a Nectar deck, a Nectar fight video, if that deck has plant tokens, that has happened. Literally every time. There's never been a time where that hasn't happened, which is just sad. But you know, that's good. You get a plant token for a Soul Blast, and auto rear when your other rear guard is placed in the same combat as it gets +3 for the turn. So you can combine that with Cecilia and just loop that by killing the unit that's placed in front of it, then call another unit on top of it, then use like stuff like Toure, kill the unit that was placed in front of it, and then do all that stuff. This thing becomes a big ass beat stick, and or to be more exact, a big ass booster. And if they give us a unit on Nectar that allows us to swing from back row again, like Noelle used to, then yeah, this deck's gonna be really fun, especially with Mirkka. So 4 copies of her because she can hit numbers very quickly if your whole purpose is to make her hit numbers. Otherwise, she's just a really good booster who can get you a plant token. And then our last grade 1 is our main grade 1 ride target, which I always forget about because I think it's a Vanguard rearguard skill for the first one. Water Lily Musketeer Ruth, grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, definitely my favorite one in terms of art, not because of this, just because I like the more shining background. Auto, when it's placed on Vanguard circle, call up to 1 plant token to rearguard. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 1 or grade, you call 2 instead. So basically, if you went second and you ride this, not only do you get to draw and a quick shield out of it from your starter, but you also get 2 free plant tokens, aka 10k calm, which is really nice. And auto rear, when this unit or your other unit is placed on rearguard from deck, retire this unit, countercharge 1. Okay, in Vera / Saul, that was better, just because, like, you know, you would already have to, you would call a unit most likely over with a trigger, or you'd have to kill a unit anyways, but Ruth made it easier because I don't know why. Ruth was easier to pull off in Vera and Saul, I honestly don't know why. In this deck, for some reason, I struggle to use that skill, despite the fact this deck needs more countercharging than Vera and Saul does, and I see this thing very often, but for some reason it bothers me to have to kill it. I don't know. I keep it because it is useful, but for some reason it bothers me that it has to be retired. So 4 copies of Ruth. It is an amazing grade 1, but for some reason I just have a problem with it. Grade 2 times. Most of them are the same, just at different numbers as the previous deck profile, but there's still some differences. 2 copies of Pansy Musketeer Sylvia, grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 9k base, auto Vanner rear. When placed, you may call a plant token rearguard circle, and plant tokens are grade 0, 5k power, critical 1, and have boost. Okay, here's what you do with this. You call this, and then you use this to call a plant token. Because what you do is you can call this during your battle phase and combo with Cecilia Reverse. Let me double check that skill. Yep, I just checked Cecilia Reverse. I'm gonna cut that out, but I did check it. And it does say you can lock any unit, so you could, and because of how plant tokens work, when you would lock them, they do get retired. So you could just lock them, open up your board, and then do a whole other bunch of bullshit. So yeah, Sylvia does actually have her purpose in this deck, because if you call her during the battle phase, she nets you 2 freestanding units, which are required for Celia to go off. So, you know, run this at 4 if you really want to, but I do prefer it at the 2 line, because, I don't know, I see enough of her already, despite the fact she's at 2. Then we have 3 copies of Peony Musketeer Toure, the thing that contributes to the counterboss problem. Grade 2, intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, auto Vanner rear. When placed, counterboss 1, retire rear guard. You can retire herself, by the way, because it doesn't say other. Look at the top 3, call either 2 cards of Musketeer in their card names, or any 1 card from them to rear, and put the rest on the bottom deck in any order. So you can choose just to call 1 Musketeer, and then just send the other 2 to bottom. That's how it works. You don't have to call specifically 2 Musketeers, or any 1 card that isn't a Musketeer. It doesn't say it cannot be a Musketeer. You can just call Musketeer, just to call Musketeer. So yeah, you know, Toure's good. My only complaint about her is literally every time I use her, 2 of the cards out of the 3 are triggers, and unlike Saul, I can't use them. So yeah, Toure and me have issues, but I do like her because I don't know why. Her art with like the white, with the white and green dress just looks really cool to me. I like the sword. I hate the eye so much right here. But I do like her. Her skill is really nice. And for some reason, I always have sack fodder for that. Whenever she ends up in my hand, ideally, that same turn where I call something from deck, oh, sack fodder appears. Interesting. So, me and Toure have a little thing going on where even though she gives me triggers, I, for some reason, need her in this deck because I always have sack fodder for her, and she always gives me the last unit that isn't a trigger is always something that I want and or need. So 3 copies of Toure because she can be useful. But if you don't like Toure or you don't want her, put her down to 2 and then put this thing at 3. Next up we have Lycoris Musketeer Saul. Grade 2 intercept 5k show 10k base. Okay. Here's the reason why I kept this. It is not because of its skill, which I do admit is good. It's because of this right here. I am fine with admitting the whole reason that this thing is still in this deck is because there is a moon in the background. We all know I am biased towards the moon. This is semi a bit, but semi not a bit, because I am partially serious here. The main reason why this thing is in this deck is because it has a moon in the background. That's why it's here, not because of its skill. Don't get it twisted, people. Anyways, the skill, which most people would run it for, besides me, auto when it's placed on Vanguard or rear guard, if your Vanguard is a Musketeer, aka everything in this deck that's not a trigger, and even then, the triggers, one of them has a Musketeer in its card name, Soul Boss 1 and retire a rear guard, it can also be itself. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card from among them, call it to rear guard, and put the rest on the bottom deck in any order. Then if you call it a trigger unit, counter boss 1 and activate all of its triggers effects. Perform this trigger effect before the other card's abilities. So basically, like if you had something like Ruth, who said, when your other unit's placed, retire and countercharge 1. You activate Saul's skill first to trigger the trigger. So yes, that is pretty good effect. If you see a crit from this, you can call down the crit. You still get a booster out of it, and you get to add 10k and a crit to someone. You see a draw, you still get a booster out of it, and you get a draw on 10k. You see a heal, you get the point at this point. So Saul's pretty good. I do like its skill, but once more, like I said, it's not because I hate that skill, because I actually love its skill, but it is genuinely because of the moon right here. Genuinely, the moon is the sole reason why this card is still in this deck. Otherwise, I would have most likely replaced it. If you got whatever you want, like I said, if you run a card that you like, that's what I do. Whether it's dumb or not, that's up to you. 4 copies of Saul. 4 copies of our last grade 2, Cherry Blossom Musketeer Augusto, the thing that I rarely use. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 10k base. Auto is placed on rear or put into guard circle. Retire 1 or more of your other back row rear guard circles. I'm sorry, other... Wait, is there a way to intercept from back row and Nectar and I'm just being dumb? I'm trying to think now if this can actually be... Either there's no way to do it and Bushy just spoiled what the next Nectar support card is going to be from the collection sets, or I'm just dumb and I don't actually remember. But either way, retire 3 or 1 or more of your other back row rear guard circles. Gets plus 5k power and 5k shield for each unit retired. And then if you retire 2 or more units for this cost, put 2 normal units with Musketeer and their carnage from your drop to bottom of deck in any order and draw a card. Yeah, if you can't tell, they did that because Vera might be a bit too good, because Vera can just loop an over trigger back to deck. But yeah, that's still good. It does restrict the Musketeers, but that's fine. You still get to net 2 units back. You get a draw, and you do got to kill some units for this to go off, but it could be assuming that you kill all 3, it could either be a 20k shield or a 25k swinger, which all around is pretty nice for Augusto. Only downside is I rarely use him because I rarely draw into him. That is genuinely the case. I rarely draw into him except when I'm on Cecilia reverse, but I like to keep my rear guards in the back row standing so I can lock them, so I can't really use Augusto with them without just only stacking 1, but then I get no benefits out of it. So Augusto is pretty good though. He can open up your unit circles, he can possibly net you a draw, and he can send units back for you, and can get either power or shit out of it. So I really love him for that, and I give this guy a 4 for it, because he's a safety shield. That's why he's here. Grade 3 time. First up, we have 4 copies of White Lily Musketeer, Cecilia. Grade 3, Twin Drive, 4 skip, 13k base, act, Vanguard, once per turn, counter boss 1, retire rear guard, look at top 5. Call up to 2 cards from them to rear guard circle, if shuffle your deck. If your soul has a grade 3 in it, call 3 instead of 2, and 3 of your from your units get plus 10 for the turn. So, kill a unit, get one more out of it, and then get another unit out of it is pretty nice. But then, if you happen to go second, or you get a grade 3 in your soul randomly, and if Bushy gives us that support that does like the Magetsu card and acts as a grade 3 in soul, it will get so much more power out of it. And you can tell Cecilia can net really good because it basically gives a persona right to your front row, and that's pretty good for Cecilia. So I like this card. I give it a 4 of one skill, very simple, but very good. Actually very good. Like, I've killed people many times with that skill. 4 copies. And then 4 copies of this thing I hate, solely because it made me read a thick wall of text for 2 minutes to actually make sure I was doing the skill right. Thorn Lily Musketeer, Cecilia, Rivas Dato. At 4 copies. I don't know why I do that. I like to say it that way. If you hate how I say reverse, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stop doing it. That's just how I do it. I don't know why I do this. Grade 3, 204 skip, 13k base. I don't know. This art's underdone to me. Like, I like the white clothing, but Cecilia herself just doesn't look good. And what I say by that, I mean, like, not good as in, like, you know, she's like a hero, but good as in her art looks underdone. I like the circle, but I'm always biased towards that, and I really do like the rapier, but once more, I am biased towards rapiers completely because I love swords, but yeah, I don't know. Cecilia kind of feels underdone compared to everyone else, especially with background too. Like, God, no. Anyway, skill, auto van, when this unit attacks anything. Counterblast 1, nuke 2 rear guards. Okay, look at top 5. Choose up to 2 unit cards from among them, call in the rear guard circle and shuffle your deck. Oh, Bushy, was nuke 1, call 2 too good for you? So now you have to make it a nuke 2, call 2? Okay, either way, jokes aside, that's good. Like, you basically can swing with front row, then on swing again, counterblast 1, kills that front row. Hopefully you didn't have to boost them. Look at top 5, call 2 more units that do not have to be musketeers, shuffle the rest back, boom, you got 2 more attacks, so you at least get 5 attacks this turn. So that's pretty good. And auto van or front or rear guard circle, because Bushy just loves doing that, once per turn. At the end of the battle, that your rear guard with Cecilia and its card name that was placed from your deck this turn attacked a grade 3 or greater vanguard. Okay, Bushy's learning. They're not going to be able to pull this bullshit off against a grade 2 or a grade locked grade 1. Counterblast 1 and lock 2 of your standing rear guards and stand the unit that attacked. And if your front row has a locked card in it, bind it instead of stand and ride that card on your vanguard that has a musketeer in its card name as stand. So pretty much what you can do with this is, if it's not on van, and say your vanguard is a regular Cecilia, or let's just say your vanguard is whatever the fuck, and you swing with this because it was placed from deck that turn. You swing with it. Cool, use its skill because it can use it on itself when it's in front of a rear guard circle. Counterblast 1, lock your other column. Just do it, because your booster is not going to do shit unless it can swing from back row. So just lock the other column, and then stand it, but then because the other column has a locked front or rear guard circle, bind it, and then as long as your vanguard is a musketeer, but considering the fact that this requires this to swing at a grade 3 or greater, and I assume you won't be grade locked for this shit, ride it. But even then, because you can call it from deck normally, your entire deck that isn't triggers is musketeers. The chances of you not getting that effect off are impossible, unless they bring back fucking what's it called? The Mega Blast for Dark Irregulars that changed your Vanguard, but even then that was unaffected at the end of your turn. I mean, end of the opponent's turn. So yeah, Cecilia Reverse over here is really good. Like, she can net you she can net you a superior ride during the battle phase, so you do lose out. Nope, you still get 5 attacks actually. Yeah, you get 5 attacks still, if you play it right, that is. And you know, she can get you multiple force skips, put pressure on the opponent, and this thing is bullshit, especially with this deck in my luck where I just sack crits 24/7. So, you know, 4 copies of Cecilia Reverse because she does something useful. She gets you multi-attack. She can get you more attacks, because that's what multi-attack is. Like, all she does is really get you more attacks, but at the same time, you're telling that to a 4 deck that can hit decent numbers if you actually know what you're doing. Yeah, you don't want to question this deck. Just, if you see this run, 4 of. And then we have our 5 plant tokens, which I remembered. Grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 5k base. I don't know why the shield market. Oh yeah, they don't have shield. My bad. Wait, no they do, right? Oh yeah, no, never mind. That's the other ones. That's the one from Sephiroth. So yeah, plant tokens. You run them because you need them for combos such as Sylvia and Mirkka over there. 5, because you don't need 6. I mean, you can technically run 6. I don't know how you would get 6 on the board, but go ahead. I mean, I guess I could understand, but that would be dumb. Then we have our gifts. 5 Force 1s, 5 Force 2s. They both are the same in the sense that when they're acquired, they go in Vanguard or Rear Guard, and they can be put on the same circle multiple times. Difference is, Force 1 can be stacked, which means Force 2, you know, you can still put on the same circle, but you can't, their effects won't stack on top of each other. Force 1, on the other hand, they will stack if they're on the same circle, and the unit on that circle will get plus 10 per copy. So if you have 1 Force 1 on a circle, plus 10 to a unit on the same circle. If you have 3, plus 30, 5, plus 50, 100 somehow, which I would greatly question how, because not even Valkyrion can do that shit yet. To be 100, million of some kind. Actually, would it be 100 million? I don't know. Maybe 100 million. I might be wrong. Some big ass number that's blockable by PG, okay? That's what it is. And then force 2 is the original critical of the unit there becomes 2, and that's why it cannot stack, because if it's a +1 critical, then it would be, if you put 3 on there, then the critical will go up to 4. But no, because as the original critical becomes 2, even if you have 2 on the same circle, the original critical will only ever be 2. You can still put crits on it, and it would be a 3 or 4 or whatever crit. But as long as the force 2 is there, its original critical will remain 2. But that's still good for rushing. That's what I prefer, because, you know, when you sack at least 1 crit in the early game, they're going to 2. Most likely they're going to go to 3, because hell, they might have just taken one of the 2 Vanguard attacks early, or they might have just taken an attack in general early. You do force 2 in a deck that can ride twice in a turn, especially if you went second. Yeah, your opponent's going to hit 5 really quickly, and unless they can counter back in that same next turn, they are essentially going to be on the back foot for the rest of the game. So force 2 is the way to go here, in my opinion. But if you want to go force 1 for power, go force 1 for power. Quick show, one of your attacks is plus 5k for the battle. This is discard fodder for your PGs, but because there's nothing else in this deck that discards, you actually can use this for a 5k shield for once. So congratulations, the quick shield actually does something. Yeah, run it, yeah, but don't waste your money getting the special Neo Nectar 1 unless you just want to flex. Just buy the trial deck. And that's it for the deck. So hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is fun. I hate Cecilia Reverse just because it made me sit there while I was recording a video trying to read its skill for 2 minutes to make sure I was actively getting its skill right. But either way, it's a fun deck. It can rush like hell, get you force gifts, and from my experience of both playing against it and playing with it, mainly against it, I want to flip this deck off every time I see it. So take that as you will. It's a good deck to play. Probably not the most meta deck ever. I still think Vera is better than Cecilia Reverse, but I do think Cecilia Reverse is still fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon, join Discord, follow the Twitch, and I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.